Hello, Kristin here, and welcome to my channel From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. And this is my weekly live Q&A every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We get together. You bring your questions. I bring my take on the answers. I do not pretend to have all of the answers and be some sort of guru when it comes to healing from chronic fatigue syndrome. Rather, I'm here to share what worked for me because it might work for you. I try to teach the healing mindset here. The healing mindset is the one thing I needed to heal all 3 times I healed on purpose. All right. There was no one magic silver bullet that got me better. As one person, I needed 3 different plans to get better each time. My body needed different things. So if me as one person did not even have one plan to get better 3 times, let alone one magic bullet to make me better, the chances are your body's going to need something like mine did, which is to go on a journey of healing, to discover all of the things you need to recover your health. And guess what? The healing mindset is what gives you the energy, the hope, and the motivation to keep going, even in those really dark moments, especially in those really dark moments. So, hi, whoever has joined, start getting your questions in the chat box over here. Pop in and just say hi. I love to know who's on board each week. In my little picture for the video, I put my magic lemonade. This is actually a really, really fantastic, super cheap, simple, easy, at-home electrolyte mix. And this is the kind of thing that actually helped me a lot when I was healing. I was just, craving it for some reason this afternoon, so I whipped myself up a glass before. This is so great. This is so much healthier than Gatorade. Maybe not easier because you do have to do a little bit of mixing, whereas Gatorade, you just pour it right out of the bottle. But it's something I recommend anyone who's struggling with severe chronic fatigue try. This is simply a half a lemon mixed with, about 2 cups of water with about 2 teaspoons of a sweetener added. I used maple sugar. It's a little more nutrient dense than typical table sugar. So I like getting those little extra micronutrients in my diet where I can. You can use honey, raw honey, whatever sweeteners work for you, plain sugar if it works for you. And then the key ingredient in here, in addition to the lemon, the sweetener, and the water, is going to be some salt. There's about a half teaspoon of salt in a full glass of this stuff. And salt is so amazing. It can help with blood volume. And many people report feeling better after consuming extra salt when they have severe chronic fatigue. There could be a lot of reasons for that. One of the reasons this was so fantastic for me personally is because I was diagnosed with bromide toxicity, meaning my body had extremely high levels of bromides in it. And luckily for me, the treatment for bromide toxicity is literally just extra salt. The salt gets into your bloodstream and binds to the bromides, and your body can detox it quickly and easily. So, and a lot of people are concerned about consuming excess salt. If you do have too many bromides in your bloodstream, then the salt's not going to affect you because it's going to be bound to the bromides and just flushed right out of your system. So, one of the many things I learned while ill that I still use while I'm well. So if you're part of the Facebook group, I shared a video there this morning that I found really, really powerful. It conveyed a message that I've tried to explain on this channel that I've really struggled with expressing accurately. If you're not in the Facebook group, you can join by checking out the description on this video. After this live stream is over, if you could refresh the page, the description will pop up. There'll be a link to the Facebook group in there. It's private, so your friends and your family won't see what you're writing in there. It's a place to be with other people struggling with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom and get additional support outside of these Thursday live Q&As. If you don't want to wait for the end of the stream, you can pop over to my channel real quick, click any other recent video that's on there, and look at the description in that video, and the link to the Facebook group will be in there. You just have to request access, answer a couple questions about why you want to be there, and do you understand the difference between being supportive versus being a whiner and a complainer, which we don't want, and then you're let in. So this video I shared in the Facebook group this morning was a story about someone in the military who had been captured. He and a number of other people had been captured. And they were there for a long time. From what I understand, they were there for years. And this man was asked, like, well, how did you survive that long? Because not everybody did. Like, people died while they were being held prisoner. And he said, I survived because I had unwavering faith in myself that I would get out of this and that I would make this the defining feature of my life. Like, he would take what was the worst thing in his life, he would just believed he would get through it, and that it would transform him forever and turn it into something that propelled him forward for the rest of his life. And after he got out, someone was asking him, well, like, oh, so he's like, so you were like, positive, you're thinking positive, you're being positive about your situation. And this guy was like, no. He's like, I wasn't being positive about the situation at all. This is a horrible retelling, by the way. You should go watch the video. I'm conveying the message, but not as well as this guy did. And this military guy's like, no, I wasn't thinking positive. He's like, the people who were thinking positive, he's like, they're the ones who were convinced that they were all going to be home by Christmas. And then Christmas would come and Christmas would go. And then it was, oh, well, we'll be home by Easter. We'll be home by 4th of July. We'll be home by Thanksgiving. We'll be home by the following Christmas. And they continued to be at the camp. They never went home. And he said some of those people who convinced themselves using positive thinking that this will be over soon. They tried to create some certainty for themselves by convincing themselves that something was going to happen on a certain timeline. He says those people ended up dying of heartbreak because they became so disappointed each time that didn't happen. He's like, I never tried to convince myself. I never tried to think positive and tell myself that we had any certainty. I never tried to tell myself like when this was going to be over. He said that he had an unwavering faith in himself to get through this, to come out the other side resilient. And he was willing to face the hard, ugly truths. He was willing to face the facts of reality that other people wanted to ignore. He faced the fact that they had no idea when that was going to be over. He faced the fact that it was a horrible, uncomfortable situation and allowed those facts to just exist. He didn't try to sugarcoat them. He didn't try to lie to himself about things. He didn't do anything other than accept what was and have a deep, unwavering faith in himself and the fact that they will get through this. And I love that story because it really reflects how I feel about my own healing journey. Like, it was very much the worst time of my life, a good 6-year span of my life. It started when I was 25. I was very young, had a great career, was making good money. I was getting into health and nutrition and fitness and building a social circle and all those things. I thought I had life figured out. And then all of that went away when I first became extremely ill. And if there's anyone watching who doesn't know me, when I say I became extremely ill, I got down to about a 15% on the CFS ability scale. So I was operating only at 15% of what a normal healthy person would be. And I had to leave my job, give up my beautiful paycheck, give up my career, lost a lot of friends along the way, have family members who still aren't really sure what was going on with me during that time, that kind of BS. And, lost my sense of self, how I identified myself. Spent a couple years, 2-3 years, with no answers, even after seeing multiple doctors. They all did all the blood work and told me I was fine. And, yeah, so life was really dark and really bleak for a long time. However, after getting through it, actually, let me back up. While I was ill, I had read the blogs. I listened to the doctors. I had heard what the experts have to say. I had seen people who had been ill with this for decades or ill with symptoms like mine for decades with no answers and no hope. So, I was like mentally aware of all the same things that you're all aware of right now. And I just refused to accept that it was impossible to heal. I refused to accept it was impossible to heal on purpose. I refused to accept what the doctors told me. I refused to accept what other patients told me, that like the only way you'll get better is if it just happens and you're lucky. And even then you might end up relapsing for the rest of your life. Like I just refused to believe that stuff. And I never even tried to have this faith in myself. I just always did. I just always had this belief that I was going to figure this out. I had no idea how. I had no idea when. I knew it couldn't be soon enough, but I just believed in me that I would endure this, that I would figure it out, didn't care what anyone else had to say. And the first time around, yeah, it took me a few years, but I did eventually find the answers I needed. I found the practitioners, the blood work, the supplements, the everything I needed to heal, and it happened, right? I had my health fully back. I had my life completely back for an entire year. And when I say that, I mean I went from being unable to work like an hour a day to going back into the office, working full-time, working more than full-time, working overtime, working like 50, 60-hour weeks in an office, and working out again, and having a social life, and planning for the future, and going on vacations, and doing everything I wanted to again for a whole year. When I was 29. So I started when I was 25. I spent like basically like the year I was 29, like having everything back, thinking I'd figured it all out. And then I relapsed. And that was really hard emotionally, as well as like physically and financially and all those things. Because when I say I relapsed, I mean, I went from having everything to having to leave my job within 6 weeks again. It was a very rapid decline that second time. And, emotionally, I was like, okay, I hate that I'm here. I hate how bad things are again, but I know how to get through this. I know what to do this time. And somehow, like innately, I kind of knew that like the way I healed, like exactly what I needed to heal the first time, like the same treatment, supplements, blah, 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 weren't what I needed this time. I knew I needed to go discover new things for myself to heal. So that's what I did. I finally found an amazing doctor who was somewhat close to me, not super close, but somewhat close to me, who specializes in stuff like this. So I started working with him, and he helped me heal a lot faster the second time. And then I was healing, recovering. I just decided to start going back to work again after the second time when I relapsed again. And that third illness was the hardest mentally for many reasons. And I really started to wonder, do I really have this figured out? Am I really going to be able to live my life healthy at some point, or am I going to be stuck in relapses? Because like getting better and then relapsing again isn't much of a life either. Like it's really marginally better than just always being ill. And that's when I kind of realized that I was like, okay, I think I figured out how to do healing externally. And I'd figured out some of the inner work of healing. And that third time, I think I realized how much more work I had to do to heal internally, mentally and emotionally, was the work that I still had like work to do on like my physical body. I still had lots of things that were off in my physical body that I needed to heal. But in order to support my physical body in healing, I needed to do a lot of work mentally and emotionally as well to keep my body stable, to preserve my energy on a daily basis, because we spend boatloads of energy mentally and emotionally when we haven't worked on ourselves internally. And whenever we do that work, we actually preserve tons and tons of energy for our physical body when we do the right work mentally and emotionally. So, it was really, really hard to face myself inside. But once I did, it's been about 4 years now. since I consider myself having like recovered from the third and final like bout of severe chronic fatigue as a symptom. And I feel really confident that I know how to avoid relapses, because now I'm able to see the super, super early warning signs that something's a little bit off in me, and I can get ahead of that stuff, nip it in the bud, and it just doesn't go anywhere from there. Like I retain my energy long term. And that's what I talk about on this channel. So that's a little bit of my story. I know I keep getting the feedback that you guys like hearing my story. So I've been working on sharing more of it. I'm sharing a lot of the same details, but I'm trying to share them in different ways, in different contexts, share them from different point of views, because, you know, it's going to resonate with different people in different ways. I'm trying to reach as many people as I can here. What do you think of my hair? I got one of those new like bun makers. It's like the plastic, almost like tulle, like wrapped up into like a bun, and then you like wrap your hair around. I've never done one of those before. I know I'm late to the game, but it's a very easy way to get my hair up and off my neck. And it's not very neat. I didn't do like the hairspray and all the stuff I normally would do, but like, I don't know. What do you think? Is it a good look for me? It's a little high. It's a little like Jersey girl high for me, but it's easy. It works. What do you guys think? So if you're in the Facebook group and you haven't watched that video yet, highly recommend that you go in there and go check it out, because that mindset of having deep, unwavering faith and belief in yourself to figure out life's problems is going to be extremely helpful. It's going to shed some light inside the dark corners that can form when we feel like we have no hope and no options. And it's also how the worst things that happen to us can help make our life afterwards brighter and more purposeful and more meaningful. And, you know, I've said this before on here, like, because I had to learn how to heal, I had to learn a lot about what to do with myself physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I continue to live those things now that I'm better. And it makes me a happier, more fulfilled human being. I am vastly happier, calmer, more relaxed, more enjoyable to be around than I have ever been in my entire life, because of the work I did, because of getting ill. Am I grateful for getting ill? I wouldn't say I'm grateful for getting ill, but I am grateful for having challenges and for the way I showed up during those challenges and the way I overcame them. I'm grateful for that. Could have been any challenge, but I'm glad that I came through it the way that I did. And we all have that opportunity to choose how we respond to the things that happen to us. We don't get to choose what happens to us. We have power over how we respond to the things that happen to us. And that's where real confidence and motivation and hope and energy and perseverance comes from, is in connecting to the control we have and how we respond to things. And, you know, of course, something like ME/CFS, some people are so ill, so severely ill, that they really have almost nothing that they can do. Like literally, they can't think, they can't research, they can't move, they can't do basic life functions. I mean, and my heart goes out to those people, and they deserve the most help, and they're also the hardest to help. And because I'm using YouTube to reach people, I unfortunately really can't reach those people, because I don't know how to make what I have to say accessible to someone who can't listen to words, who can't read an article, because of their extreme fatigue. And that's something I think about. If anyone has ideas, like, I'm open to it. I just haven't come across anything yet. It's really more about accessing the caregivers for those people. But I have no idea how to reach them. If you have ideas, I'm open to it. All right, you guys are a very quiet bunch today. Not a single question, not a single hello today. I don't know if you guys realize this, but when I'm on lives, I can't see who's on. I can see a number. Like, I know the number of people, but I have no idea who's joined until you comment in the chat box. No, I am not a doctor. I am just someone who has lived with Severe chronic fatigue is a symptom for years. I was never diagnosed with ME/CFS, but I had the hallmark symptoms for it, especially the post-exertional malaise. Don't pretend that I'm a doctor. Don't pretend that I have all the answers for you. But I am here to share my story, and some people have found that very useful in their own journeys and informing their own journeys. Do you pronounce that captain? Captan? You don't normally see a two in Leet speak, but I'm not sure what else to do with that. I'm not sure how else to interpret your name. If anyone else here is new, this painting back here. Hi, Anna. Really love the fact that accepting you're going to be sick forever. We don't know if we're going to be, you don't know how long you're going to be sick for. And that's a really hard thing. Humans really, really struggle with uncertainty, as we're seeing, especially right now. But like, you just don't know. And I'm not that this is the same. This is not the same. But the struggle with like, you don't know how long you're going to be sick for. Like, I didn't know how long I was going to be sick for. Kind of like I'm launching this business and I'm in like business launching struggle mode. And it's really freaking hard. And I don't know how long I'm going to be in like business launching struggle mode. Some people say it never ends. Some people say that like, doesn't matter how much money you make, doesn't matter how big your company is, you're always in like launching struggle mode because of how hard it is to run a business. But like, it is what it is. And I've just decided this is what I'm going to do. So it's worth enduring the hardships of it, just like it was worth enduring the hardships of being ill and the hardships of recovery, because it got me to the other side. There's no way to like skip over the hard part of recovery. You've got to like live through the hard part of recovery to get to the other side. So like, oh yeah, it was not an option. Yeah, going to be sick forever was not an option. Thank you for chiming in, Anna. I appreciate it. Let's see, Captain. I'm going to assume that you pronounce it Captain. What questions do you have? What stuff are you reading about? What challenges do you have? What questions have you been pondering over about your own healing journey? If it's something I can weigh in on, I will. If I can't, then, I'll just say I can't, or like I'll add caveats to it. But I love being asked questions. Oh, what was I going to say about the painting? So this painting freaks some people out because it's a skull. It's a human skull, and it's wrapped in like a tablecloth that has all these like, bright, beautiful flowers on it. And the moment I saw this painting was after the first time I healed. I was in a museum. It's a Cézanne. And it moved me because it just wholly embraces the duality between like life and death and light and dark and bone and cloth and flowers. And it reflected back to me how I had to face my own mortality, and how I'd had to face the idea that I didn't know, especially the first time I was ill for several years, I didn't know if that was going to kill me or not. I didn't know if I was going to be stuck living like half a vegetable for the rest of my life. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to work and save money again. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to do anything, frankly. And facing that fact and facing that uncertainty and accepting it was powerful. So many of us think that if we look at the problems in our life and accept their truth, that it means that we have to just give up and accept them forever. And that's just not what acceptance is. Acceptance is about accepting what's right now and realizing that the future is still open to every possibility. So by accepting what happens right now and leaving the uncertainty of the future open, it's actually very freeing and empowering. It actually motivates and energizes us, because when you accept right now, saying right now, I don't know if I'm going to live or I'm going to die. I don't know if I'll ever be able to work or work out again or do anything I love ever again. You get freed from expectations of the future, and you get to set your own goal. And at the same time, you can't say like, I know I'm going to get better by Christmas or something like that. It doesn't work that way. But if you just decide, I am here for this journey, and I am here to do whatever it takes to come out the other side healthy, like boom, there it is. Like you've set that goal, you've set your future for yourself. You've decided to work towards that no matter what happens. And like this painting is just about accepting all of the hardships and all of the beauty in life at all moments. Like if you can hold in your heart at the same time the pain of not being able to walk freely, while also being able to embrace the joy and having an hour to just sit and look at a flower. Like that was something I would do when I could. I would just sit there and like look at the flowers and just really be able to immerse myself in the physical experience of like sitting in the tiny little backyard I had with the garden in back. And that was something I never could have done if I was still working. I wouldn't have had the time. I would have been too scatterbrained. I would have been all over the place. But when I was ill, I got to enjoy those little moments while simultaneously living in the horror of not being able to live my life in other ways. And I think those dualities are so important and so powerful for us as humans to embrace everything in life at once. All right. Oh, hi, Alex Games. Welcome back. What caused me to have chronic fatigue syndrome in the first place, and what happened to cause me to relapse the first time and the second time and also the third time. So, all right. All right, Anna, I'll get to you. Lag King Gamer, I'll get to you as well. So what first caused me to become ill? A lot of things. And it's not a simple answer. It's not like we have like a discrete one thing that this is what happened to me and this is why I got ill. So I'll say what didn't make me ill. I didn't have a virus. A lot of people have, what they call like viral fatigue after being ill. A lot of people don't, and I'm one of those people who didn't. However, I was living an extremely stressful life at the time. When I was 25, I had this amazing job, but it was extremely stressful for me. It was very hard, very challenging, long hours. I was miserable at the job, so there was emotional stress there. I was doing CrossFit at the time, so I was working my body physically extremely hard. It's a lot of stress on the body. I was big into the work hard, play hard mentality. So in addition to working long hours and working myself really hard at the gym, I was also out partying a few nights a week, staying up really late, drinking too much alcohol, a lot more physical stress on my body. And to top all of this off, at 25, I also had a severe eating disorder that was causing massive stress on me physically, mentally, and emotionally every single day of my life. So I was under a crippling amount of stress to begin with, way more stress than the average 25-year-old. And what the straw that broke the camel's back for me was, it was the middle of July in Philadelphia, here in the US. And the middle of July in Philadelphia is very hot and very humid. I mean, it was over 100 degrees and the humidity was in the 90s, okay, like 90% something. So extremely hot, extremely humid. And my gym didn't have air conditioning. It was like when CrossFit, like before CrossFit was cool. And, the gym was still in like a garage, in like an old like auto mechanics garage in the city. So we just put the doors up, the bay doors up, and we were working out in this insane heat and humidity. And very quickly, I collapsed. I couldn't endure the heat and the high workout like that, or the intense workout like that. So like I collapsed on the floor. I could barely breathe. My body, I was just like shaking. It wasn't a seizure, but I was shaking. And just felt so ill that whole time. And like, we all just wrote it off as like, oh, Kristin had heat exhaustion. She'll be okay for a few days if she just rests. But my body never recovered from that. I continued to decline. My fatigue became more and more intense. It started popping up more and more often. I could get through fewer and fewer workouts. Like the fatigue would hit me earlier and earlier in the workout, and then it began impacting my ability to walk and to think. And when it took 6 months from the first time I collapsed in the gym to when I couldn't walk down the block. I couldn't walk through my house or upstairs even without getting winded and lightheaded and having massive brain fog. And I was sleeping 14 hours a day And like, I was like 25, just turned 26, but I felt like I had the body of an 80-year-old woman. Like I was just falling apart. Couldn't think, couldn't move. It was bad. And so like in some ways what made me get sick was living an extremely unhealthy life. Like on the surface, like I was eating well, I was exercising, I was being healthy, but I was actually living an extremely unhealthy lifestyle because of the amount of stress that I was putting on my body every single day. I wasn't um I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't sleeping enough, I should say, and I wasn't resting enough. So all of those things contributed. However, those things alone still might not have been enough. I was also facing I didn't know this until much later, but I had multiple severe nutrient deficiencies at the time. So those nutrient deficiencies were impeding my body's ability to handle stress and to recover from all the stress I was putting it under. So it was all the stress plus nutrient deficiencies. Plus, I developed an autoimmune disorder. We don't know when I developed the autoimmune disorder. Like some doctors have actually told me I could have had it since I was like 12 and just never known because it operated at such a low level. Some doctors think it could have started like right around that time. It could have started right before I collapsed or right after I collapsed. We don't really know, but the autoimmune disorder was a factor as well. So it's like this hazy cloud of like all these contributing factors that were present in my life at the time, but we can't pin it on any one thing. It's really the collection of all of these things in my life happening at once. So that seems to be what did it for me the first time. Oh, and then also probably some other underlying things happening physically that we're just not aware of, right? Like I can only tell you the things I knew about either through life experience or through blood work we discovered. But there could have definitely been things I still am not aware of contributing to it. So let's see. The second time we don't know. The second time really came out of nowhere. There was no like instigating factor. There was nothing really that dramatic that happened. I have my own guesses about why, but they're just pure guesses. We really don't know why I relapsed the second time. Even after all the blood work we did, like we found a lot of stuff, but we don't know when all that started happening there. And we don't know why all of that started happening when it did. So the second time was really a mystery. And then the third time, oh, you asked me about relapse the first time and relapse the second time. I told you about the first time I got ill and then the first time I relapsed. I'm mixing everything up in my head. I'm sorry. So the second time I got ill / the first time I relapsed, we don't know why it happened. And then the third time I got ill / the second time I relapsed, it was because of a massage. It was because I was recovering so well from my first relapse. I was recovering so quickly. I was getting back to work. Like life was good. I went and treated myself to a 90-minute deep tissue massage, and that triggered my second relapse. And it was massive. I mean, in just a few hours, I went from like walking around, feeling vibrant, feeling positive about the future, like going back to work, to unable to walk freely again. All the brain fog came back. All of the physical fatigue came back. I think there might have been a little bit of like emotional mood swings there in the beginning of that. And in addition to all of that, in addition to all of the severe chronic fatigue coming back, I also developed IBS. Like the next morning, developed IBS in the form of completely watery stool is the way I'll say it. And I had that every single day for the next 18 months. The IBS came out of nowhere from that massage. So since I was working with a doctor at that time, obviously we talked about this and did lots of blood work as a result of this. And our working theory, just a theory, we can't prove this, is that for whatever reason, because of genetics, because of nutrient deficiencies, because of environmental exposure. We don't know. I seem to be somebody who doesn't do a great job detoxing all of the things I'm exposed to. My body seems to hang on to a lot of shit it's not supposed to hang on to. And that deep tissue massage released a lot of it from my muscles and from my fat cells into my bloodstream all at once, and kind of kicked off some like ongoing detox event. So with all of these toxins hitting my bloodstream, it's what made me feel super awful. And I needed new things to then support my body in its detox efforts, to not only overcome the severe chronic fatigue, and then also eventually to overcome the IBS. I've been IBS free for quite a while now. So there it is, the quick recap. All right, Anna says, right now I found a healer who is doing iodine loading tests because your doctor is great but does not seem to be an expert. So glad you found someone who knows what they're doing with iodine. It was a hard decision because healers do not accept insurance and is far away. Yeah, I totally. Oh, all right. Yep, you're going away. All right. Anna, but you just decided to try this healer anyway. He agreed to talk to you for 10 minutes on the phone, which he does not usually do, but he sounded nice. So you see him in 3 weeks. Oh, he's read Dr. Brownstein. That's really fantastic. See, yes, this is what happens. Like when you just put in the work to find somebody, eventually you find great people. And Anna, you found 2 great people recently, which is mind blowing. Like I wish I could find 2 great people that quickly within like 6 months of each other. I'm so happy for you that you found your iodine deficiency and you are getting knowledgeable help and support in treating this, because yeah, the iodine loading, I did that. Like, I take 12.5 milligrams of iodine a day, not micrograms, but milligrams. And there was even a time where I did like the full iodine loading where I was taking 50 milligrams a day for like 6 months. And it helped me, but I was still severely ill at the time. And I didn't have enough of the right support that I wish I'd had then. So yeah, I know blood work costs can be so expensive when they don't accept insurance, but it's the kind of thing where if you have the ability, it's totally worth it. Completely worth it. I mean, like the money I spent on my doctor and all the supplements and treatments and everything it costs, it would have spent double if I'd known it was going to get me where it got me. You're welcome, Alex. As long as you're sick, you can't spend your money anyways. Well, here's the thing, like really, like what's health worth to you? I mean, it's kind of worth anything and everything, right? Nearly everything and nearly everything and nearly anything. So yeah, because without your health, there isn't a whole lot going on in life. It's one of those facts. I mean, I say that, and then there's people like Jen Brea who's still like freaking executive produce a documentary that they also star in. Anna, it took me a lot of emotional energy to decide whether I should see him or not. Since the decision is made, I feel relief because I know what the next step on my journey is going to be. Yeah, you know what? Thanks for sharing that, because it is really emotionally hard to make big decisions like that, because it's a big financial decision for you to make. When it comes to like healing practitioners, I've done this where like you can see multiple people at once. Like if this doctor helps you in one way and this healer helps you in another, it can be worth working with both of them as long as you keep them informed of what the other one has you doing. That kind of thing has been done before with success. But yeah, it's a big decision. I'm glad you put in that energy. I know it's hard sometimes to devote energy to things like this, but once you make that decision, you get on the other side, you feel relief. That's just more validation that you've made the right decision for yourself. Because normally if we make a decision and then we just feel dread afterwards, or we feel something really heavy afterwards, sometimes it means we've made a decision that's not the best thing for us. But this one seems like it's a good one for you. So I'm glad you put yourself out there, knew the decision you made, put in the energy you needed to, and now you're able to just move forward. And like you said, take the next step on your healing journey. Anna, you're such a role model. Alex says, Anna, my CFS started when Sound Iodine and Dr. Brownstein. Who are you seeing? Alex says, be careful. Yes, Alex. That's the thing about iodine, is it can trigger some really negative effects in some people. Like one thing that it can do is it can trigger big detox events. For example, it's not the only thing it can do, but it's one thing it can do. And if the body's not supported when other like halides or heavy metals are being detoxed, we can experience really negative symptoms for a long time as a result. So yes, like totally second your recommendation to be careful. It's very important. Yeah, Anna says health is worth everything, but she's not sure if the person is right. You just paid the bill for someone who was not helping at all. It is painful. I know. And that's why I'm glad to give you a 10-minute conversation so you could get like that pre-interview in there. But, you know, I said this before, if you're going to be seeing a new doctor, like it's not about deciding that this is the doctor for you until after you've had at least one appointment with them. Like the first appointment, the first full in-person appointment, I treat it more like an interview. And they're not interviewing me as the patient. I'm interviewing them as like, do you listen to me? Do you talk to me? Do you share information with me? Do I have enough time with you? Does this feel like a good relationship that we're going to have moving forward? And only after that can we really decide if they're the right person. We have to decide to like first say, am I going to give them even one appointment? And then after that first appointment, we've got to say, am I going to give them a second one? Am I going to commit, to their methods or not? Yeah, Alex has been through that a bunch of times. And it says not making the decision took even more energy. And this is the truth. This is the truth so many of us ignore. We end up spending so much time avoiding a decision, avoiding something in our lives, and we waste so much energy avoiding something. I still do it, I admit. Alex says he has iodine cofactors. That's good. Were you getting a lot of blood work done at the time, Alex? Did you have a doctor or practitioner you were working with who was tracking your blood work while you were testing iodine? If you're open to sharing, I'm also curious about why you got into iodine in the first place, because healthy people don't normally get into iodine. It's only people who aren't well to begin with. So I'm curious what got you into iodine. If you want to share. If you don't, no pressure. All right. Take care, Captain. Thank you. All right. Just saying, be careful. Alex says, don't overpush your body, especially with the salts. Bromine detox was a big mistake on my part, recommended by the practitioner. So when you say bromine detox was a big mistake on your part, what does that mean? I'm not sure. Were you saying that you got into like bromine detox and you took too much salts, or like what was your experience with that? Cause like, were you tested? Did you get the halides test? Were you tested for like your bromines, your chlorine, fluoride levels and all that? Cause like, I had that test done. So that's how I know I had it. I knew I needed salt, and salt definitely made a big positive impact for me. So I'm just curious about, I don't know. I want to know so many details. You were slightly tired. So you saw the practitioner, you got 2 tests done. Okay. Sounds like you came back with iodine deficiency. Sounds like present test. I remembered. I'm not sure what that is. A P test. Yeah, you can do P tests can test for a lot of different things. I've done a number of P tests over the years. The first iodine test I did was a P test. I don't remember if the bromides test was a P test or not. I have to go look through all my paperwork. But yeah, like I don't think anyone should assume that they have it. Like, even if I talk about like iodine deficiency and bromide toxicity and nutrient deficiencies, like, I don't think anyone should assume that they have those things because, there's 1,000 things out there that can cause the symptom of severe chronic fatigue, right? And we can't know what's causing ours until we get the blood work. We have to get blood work and we have to get diagnosed before we start doing these things. Now, I do think there are some low risk, low cost things that if, we don't have the time or money or energy to go get blood work and go see doctors and stuff, like trying to add a couple extra teaspoons of salt to your diet on a daily basis for a couple weeks and see how you feel, fine. But it still doesn't definitively tell you what's wrong with you. You still need blood work to do that kind of thing. And for the most part, I wouldn't recommend just like trying any of these treatments we talk about because, I think like Alex has experienced here, you can do something and your body can still respond really negatively to it if you don't have the right guidance and support throughout the treatment process, and also guidance on doses and like cofactors, like he said. It's really complex stuff that you really, really need a knowledgeable doctor or practitioner guiding you through. Okay, he said you had bromines and you did high dose iodine with cofactors and salt and vitamin C. You had major eye bags. Oh no. I know, I'm teasing. I'm sorry. I know very much what that's like. So yeah, so Alex, I'm gonna say, even though this was a really horrible experience for you, oh man, there's so much stuff coming up for me right now. I'm not sure what to comment on first. I want to say that, like, the stuff Alex is talking about made him feel awful and maybe kicked off some bigger health issues for him. Whereas the stuff he's talking about, like, I'm on extremely high doses of vitamin C still. I still cycle up and down. Like, my body needs less vitamin C. I take less vitamin C. My body needs more. I take more. I'm on a very high kick again. I take like 28 grams of vitamin C a day right now. I still do like, a 12.5 milligram dose of iodine on a daily basis. I've been including more salt in my diet recently just because I feel better when I do that. Like, all that stuff has been really great for me over the past 10 years. Whereas Alex, he's suffering a lot of negative consequences from those things. So like, this is the perfect example of why I'm trying to say that, like, there is no magic bullet. There is no one thing that's going to cure you. There is no one thing that works the same for everybody. It all comes down to the individual experiment of discovering how your body responds to things, guided by a knowledgeable practitioner and guided by blood work. So I want to dive into this. I'm not an expert on iodine. I'm not a doctor. I'm not any of those things. But like, iodine, there's a lot of different things it can do to the body. And from what I've seen, what I've read is that iodine can kick off heavy metal detoxing in your body. And if you're not appropriately supporting the heavy metal detox long term, it can still cause damage. And one of the things about, if you do have to detox, we very often feel kind of more terrible for a while before we begin feeling better because I don't know, what's an example? I don't know. I don't have an analogy popping to mind right away, but when it comes to detox, like, things often do get a little bit worse before they get better. And if we're not continuing to support that detox process, or if we don't know what's being detoxed, we can't really support it. It can cause a lot of issues. It can get really, really ugly. Kind of like, iodine seeming to trigger something for Alex here. I had my massage that triggered a lot of things for me as well. So we just don't know what the triggers are until we try them, unfortunately. All right. Hey, Jack. It's been a long time. I am well, thank you. I know you said you needed 3 different things to heal at different times. Could you give some examples? I needed way more than 3 things to heal. I healed 3 times, and each time I needed different things. So like, like we've just been talking about, I've used iodine. I've needed CoQ10. I've needed, let's see. I feel like there's so many caveats when I say these things. It's so hard for me to just like give you a list because I don't want you to get the wrong idea. So like iodine, I've been taking iodine as a supplement for 10 years straight. It's really great for me. It helps me a lot. I've done vitamin C. I didn't start taking that until the third time I was ill. I needed CoQ10 for a while. I didn't take that until the second time I was ill. So like as important CoQ10 is for mitochondrial health and ATP production, I didn't need it the first time I healed. Maybe it would have healed faster if I had it, but I didn't need it. But it helped me heal faster the second time. I needed L-acetylcarnitine in combination with the CoQ10. And it's not just the combination of L-acetylcarnitine and CoQ10. I had to get the ratio of those two things right, because in the wrong ratio, they aren't going to be very helpful. Didn't need that until the second time I healed. I needed taurine, an amino acid. I needed that the second and third times that I healed. I have needed omegas. Because I was severely, severely deficient in omegas, omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, omega-12, all the omegas, super, super deficient. Let's see, there's just so many things. B vitamins. B vitamins never did much for me. Some people feel amazing when they start B vitamins. I did B vitamins a bit the first time I was ill, and it wasn't worth the cost. It didn't do really much of anything for me. Oh my goodness. Vitamin D. I've been supplementing with vitamin D for on and off for 10 years. I don't stay on vitamin D. I kind of cycle through, kind of try to focus on it in the winter when I have less exposure to sunlight. But my vitamin D was never super low. What else have I done? I don't know. I don't even keep track because it's just like, because each one thing isn't super important. It's more about getting the right thing at the right time in the right dose, and then getting off it when I'm done. Oh, I've supplemented. I've tried magnesium a bunch of times. My practitioners have always wanted me to be on magnesium, but I tell you what, when I go on magnesium, I don't feel well. And when we get my blood work tested, my magnesium levels are never bad. Maybe they're not as high as they would like them to be, but they're never bad. So like, I've tried it a bunch of times, doesn't do anything for me. Glycine, I've tried glycine. Glycine doesn't do much for me. I supplemented with zinc and selenium to support my thyroid on and off. Oh, I always do a multivitamin. I'm sorry, not a multivitamin. I use a multi-mineral. Multi-minerals are super important because we don't really get enough minerals from our food anymore because of poor soil quality and all kinds of issues. Just salt loading, like taking a teaspoon of salt and water in the morning, a teaspoon of salt in the evening, really helped me for a long time. Didn't need that one until the second time I got sick. I've tried homeopathies. Those didn't do much. I have, gosh, I don't even know, guys. I'd have to like go back and look because I don't even remember all the things I've tried. Some of which worked and some of which did not. One big thing I've been on since the first time I got ill. Stomach acid supplements. I have very, very low stomach acid. I don't produce enough. So I take hydrochloric acid pills with every meal. Not everyone has that issue for sure, but I definitely do. I've tried probiotics on and off. I've never really seen much of a benefit from probiotics, if I'm going to be honest. I don't really see a difference in my stool. I don't feel a difference in my health. And from what I've been reading lately, we're actually learning a lot more about what probiotics need to do to be effective. It turns out that most probiotic pills dissolve in the stomach, and the stomach acid is killing most of the bacteria. So there's very little bacteria actually making it through into our intestines where we want it. And it gets kind of complicated and expensive to get probiotics down where we need them. Plus there's the matter of feeding them the right foods and keeping them balanced, keeping the ratios of the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, or it can even just be ratios of different good bacteria. If we have too much of one type of good bacteria, we're going to have problems. Like the gut's extremely complex. Oh my gosh. Cod liver oil. I used to do a lot of cod liver oil. Honestly, the first time I healed, I was taking cod liver oil like daily. That was a big, big thing for me. I felt really good when I took cod liver oil. I forgot I used to take that. I haven't taken that in years. I didn't need it the second or third times I healed, but it was really important for me the first time. It's got vitamins K and vitamin A and D and some other really good stuff in high quantities. I think that's the extent of the list I'm going to go over for now. Anna says, there is always the risk that something can go wrong, but I have to do something. And that's like a paradox, right? We've got to hold, kind of like the painting here. We've got to hold on ourselves the fact that where I'm at right now is terrible. And it's going to be really hard to go try things, to have some things fail, but it's the only way to discover what works. So we're going to move forward anyway. It's so hard. Alex says, yeah, and kind-hearted practitioners don't always hold the truth. They don't all. I think there's also a little bit of, we all need something different, right? And each doctor has a little bit something different to offer. And it's about finding the right person for us. Because like this amazing doctor I've worked with for the past 5 years or whatever, I don't recommend him to many people because he's not right for most people. Even though he has all this knowledge and he's helped me tremendously, he has a very certain personality and he expects a lot from the people that he works with. And most people have no interest in engaging with their doctor as deeply, as frequently as I have. Most people have no interest in experimenting with things like I do, kind of like Anna was just saying, that like, we don't know if it's going to work or not, but we have to be willing to try it anyway. There are people who aren't really willing to try things out. They just want to do things that they know are going to work a certain way. I'm much more, I'm not very risk averse. I don't mind taking risks. It's just my personality. So I'm more open to trying things. And I think it's one reason I got well faster, because I was willing to try a lot more things and I didn't get hung up on things that didn't work. I didn't let myself get emotionally drained when things didn't work out the way I hoped they would. It was just, let's test this thing out. What's the response from my body? What's the response on the blood work? What does my doctor want us to do? Are we going to move forward or try something else? And a lot of times the answer was like, okay, we're going to move on from that and try something else. And I just emotionally was able to roll with that much easier than most people do. So like my doctor was a really good fit for me because we're both really experimental and we both value speed over accuracy. And even though I tried many, many things with him that didn't work for me, I very quickly found many, many things that still did work for me. And I got to that place of healing that I was looking for. So just because someone else, like other people try to work with him and they aren't a good fit and they don't get where they want to go in the way that they want to get there. So they would say that he's not a good doctor, right? But for me, he's been a fantastic doctor. So that's why I think it's about like this interview process with doctors I talked about before. Like, are they the right person for you to work with? Do they offer the right things that you need? Do they do it in the way that is best for you? And it's okay if the answer is no. You know, like we can't expect every doctor to be the same, to offer the same things in the same way. And I think, and even though it's harder, it makes things harder because we have to search harder to find who we need. What it means is that the right person for us is probably out there somewhere. And we can eventually find them if we look hard and long enough. And I personally think that's a great thing because it means that the answers that we need are out there. And it can also mean that like we need different people at different stages of our healing. We need different experts for different problems that we encounter. Like Anna going to find an iodine expert when she discovers that she has severe iodine deficiency. So I think there can be some doctors and practitioners out there really just aren't very knowledgeable. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Unfortunately true. Heartbreakingly true. And I think there's also a component of people don't have the right information that we need, or they don't present that information in a way that's useful to us. So just keep searching until you find that right person. Alex says, just saying, I would opt for high dose relaxation, like Kristin recommends. Try it if you wish, but trust your body when things might go bad. Yeah, you guys are just like dropping the wisdom nuggets today. I love it. This is awesome. Alex says, small dose iodine, okay, but personally, I would be careful with high dose. Yes. Jack, you're welcome. And also, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're around. Yeah. Yeah, Anna takes just the RDA of iodine right now, 150 micrograms. She doesn't feel much of a difference, but she thinks her sleep improved a little bit. That's cool. You know, maybe it's a little depressing to say this, but if you don't have setbacks, that's a win, right? Like a lot of the times we try something new, if we don't have a setback, that can feel like a win. And I think we should kind of acknowledge our wins. All right, guys, we've been on for an hour. If there are any other little questions, I'm happy to get to those right now. Otherwise, we'll do this again next week, same time, same place. My YouTube channel, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. Yeah, and Anna knows because she tested, but she's afraid to increase the dose without a healer, which is smart. I know it's slow, but it's smart. It's so smart, Anna. It really is. All right, cool. So, hope to see you next week. If you're not in the Facebook group, come on and join us over there. When this video is over, you should be able to like refresh the page, and there should be a description for the video underneath, and it'll have the link to the YouTube group right in there. You can just request to join. It's a private place. None of your other Facebook friends will know what's going on in there. And sending you so much love and so much health in these trying times. I'm so proud of all of you for sticking with this and coming as far as you have, even though it's so, so hard. I hope for all of you to be in a place where later in life you look back on this time as the hardest thing in your life that transformed you for the better. All right. Take care, everybody. I'll see ya. Bye, Alex. You too.